the new series lead, the new greatest character of all time, the new GOAT, Langston, played by Tim Meadows. Another week goes by. We got more news, more exciting things to talk about, and some things that I don't necessarily think are exciting. Look, man, you know my thoughts on this topic. Brandon, let's talk about the trailer release for The Witcher Season 4. A little bit of history.
That, in fact, did come out, at least the trailer and images.
So for a little bit of history for those that don't know, I have watched The Witcher pretty much since it came out. I fell in love with that show. I thought it was really, really good. I liked Henry Cavill. I liked the just the well-rounded cast, the characters. It was a really good fantasy adventure story. Then years ago, I hooked Brandon on the show with seasons 1 and 2. I thought it was great. And the world was great. And I was so hyped for season 3. Season 3 came out. I was like, God, this was kind of mid. It really wasn't as good as it could have been. That was really mid. And then Doomsday hit. And what was Doomsday, Brandon?
Yeah, that's when Henry Cavill decided that he was going to be the goat of all goats and stand his ground on the fact that the writers and directors and producers wanted to make significant changes from the lore and basically butcher The Witcher, which you could kind of already tell was what was happening in season 3, and that's why it was mid. But then Henry Cavill stood on business and said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I can't remember if he left or if they booted him, but he left. He is no longer a part of the show as Geralt of Rivia, the main character, which, here's the thing that I have a problem with, and maybe will be proven wrong. The Witchers isn't just Geralt. Geralt isn't the only Witcher. The show isn't called Geralt of Rivia. The show is called The Witcher. There are plenty of other Witchers. From what it seems like, they're recasting. Instead of just going to a different story of a different Witcher, they're recasting Henry Cavill, which is a terrible way to do this. Look, this is no slight on Liam Hemsworth's ability to act or anything. I think Liam Hemsworth is an acceptable actor. I have no problems with him. This is not his fault. However, shoehorning another actor in there after 3 seasons. This isn't like a War Machine situation where you recast him after a movie or even a Mark Ruffalo situation. This is 3 seasons of a TV show. You're fully replacing your main character.
Yeah. Well, look, the first and foremost, for context, I never read any of like the books that went along with The Witcher. I've played the third Witcher game like years ago. I never even fully completed it because that game takes so long to complete. It's a long ass game. But I have a little bit of knowledge in Witcher, enough to at least pull it together. Geralt is obviously the main Witcher. That's why they follow him, and that's why they probably chose to recast him instead of either, like you're saying, going to somebody else. I don't think they would actually, though. I don't think they would tell somebody else's story. I think it's Geralt or it's nothing, purely because of the fact that it's Geralt of Rivia. That is the lead character. It's weird in a TV show when it's worked in very, very few fantasy shows. It's weird when you sidetrack to make somebody else the main character of a show and then still have that show work, especially because Geralt really was the glue, especially in season 3, was still the glue that held that show together. That was pretty much it. I will give credit where credit's due, though. Liam Hemsworth is not a bad actor. Nothing negative towards Liam Hemsworth. He's not a bad actor. And I also give credit where credit's due in this much. I do think he looks more like Geralt from the game than Henry Cavill did. When I looked at Geralt and I saw Henry Cavill, I was like, that's Henry Cavill as Geralt. It looked fine and it looked good. I do, however, think Liam Hemsworth looks more like Geralt. And then when you watch the trailer, you hear him speak and you go, that's not the voice of Geralt. Where's Henry Cavill? What have you done?
I don't necessarily disagree with you on the looks thing. He does look good in the role. And again, this is no slide on Liam Hemsworth. I will say, though, I saw the promotion images a few days ago when they dropped, but I didn't watch the trailer until like 5 seconds before we hit record.
Sure.
It looks like a TV commercial. Like, not in a good way. Like it's bad. Like, it literally looks like they were about to switch over to, like, advertising the new Toyota truck. Like,
Toyota
I'm
presented
not
by
shitting you. It
Geralt.
literally looked like Geralt was about to start advertising the next Toyota truck in that like, that was not a good trailer, in my
To
opinion,
be
and it's
fair,
not
now
the Nimrods' fault.
I don't know when the show's coming out. I don't know when the new season is. It could be next year for all we know. That being said, I do know that sometimes when they release trailers, visual effects aren't done yet. It looks way better by the time the actual movie or television series releases. If it's like a month from now, they might be a little screwed. That being said, if it's further out,
October 30th.
okay,
So,
they may be a little
um,
screwed because
yeah,
that looks like.
almost exactly a month away. It's a month and a week, basically.
Granted, Witcher season 3 also didn't look very good either. It had some really bad moments of CGI. Seasons 1 and 2 were really well done. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
saying they were record breaking, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's chest level CGI, but it was at least competently well made. You know what I mean? You could tell that it's clear there was not a lot of work put into the back end of this because it does look super fake. It looks like a Doctor Who episode, and I love Doctor Who, but it legit looks like a Doctor Who episode.
As someone who's never seen Doctor Who, I do think that's actually a really apt comparison from the little bit I have seen of Doctor Who in terms of the production quality. The production quality of Doctor Who has never been top tier. It hasn't, at least from what I've seen. It's not
No,
a bad show from what I've
it's
seen.
not
I
trying
will
to
watch
either.
it eventually, but
When it's practical, it's good, and when it's CGI, you have every now and then you might have a few episodes where you're like, that's actually some pretty competently handled CGI in Doctor Who. Like if it's a bigger episode, they'll do that. But most of the time, they don't care because they know what type of story they're telling. They're having a fun time doing it, and they can just do it. But that's Doctor Who. This
yeah.
is The Witcher. This is for the most part, it's a gritty fantasy television series based off of video games and books that also were gritty and fantasy and very much beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Look,
Well, here's the thing. I have read the first book. There's a
mm,
few books. It's a long series, but I have read the first book. The first season does have a lot of elements of that first book. It's not a one for one retelling, but you could definitely tell that they were trying to stay as accurate as possible with making the necessary changes for a television show. And a
sure,
lot of that is thanks to Henry Cavill. Now that Henry Cavill is out of the picture, that's obvious why you're seeing this quality shift, because the
right,
fact that you booted Henry Cavill solely for the fact that he wanted to make the show good and accurate to the books that made The Witcher popular. I guess technically the video game really put it on another pedestal, but still, it it goes to show your lack of care. It really
right.
does. It looks so bad on Netflix because it was so easy to just keep Henry Cavill and make it accurate. But no, you had to get greedy, and for whatever reason in your mind, you thought it was a good idea to just go and change things, which we've seen in
It
the
was
past historically doesn't really work out.
again. You listed a few examples like Mark Ruffalo. That was fine. But that was a change that worked in the end. Uh, Colonel James Rhodes, Don Cheadle. That was one that
Don
was
Cheadle,
worked.
the
I'm listing
anti-venom,
off.
yeah.
I'm listing off MCU references. How about Game of Thrones? I know you never got to that point in the show, but there's a character in season 3 that gets changed out for somebody who plays the character the rest of the show. Continuity wise, it worked fine, but like it didn't drag the show, it didn't hold anything back. It did make people go, "Wait a minute, that's not who it was last season." And for all we know, maybe that's what it is here. I really want to doubt it though, because here's the thing: when Henry Cavill left, he clearly said he left for creative differences. So it's the way they were taking the show, and more likely than not, when they say creative differences, it also he sees where the writing's going, and you can see like, okay, this is where the writing was in season 3. It wasn't great, and it doesn't look like it's getting better for season 4. Let me just dip and get out of here before it gets worse. So it does concern me because again, at a point in time, I was excited to watch Witcher. Seasons 1 and 2 are really well done. Are they the best seasons of television? Not at all. I've seen so much better, but I think it's really competently made and put together and handled with a lot of care and love. It actually, even though it's based off a book series and in a video game, to a certain extent, if it was just seasons 1 and 2 right now, I honestly would still say it might be the best video game adaptation of anything right now. Because it was
Here's
also
the
before
thing.
Last of Us came out.
Here's the thing, it cannot be counted as that because the story of the video game and the story of the books are pretty different. This is
Sure.
very clearly, and this is one of the reasons why Henry Cavill left over creative differences, at least from the limited he's talked about, is they are pulling from the source material of the books. And the books
Yeah.
are the actual core source material. So this would be more akin to a Harry Potter situation than it would be a adapting of the video game and a video game adaptation like The Last of Us.
Sure. Right. Look,
That
I don't know. You can look at it however you want. Again, it's also tricky when you have so much media to base it off of before it becomes a film television product.
I have a question for you.
Oh no. Yes, please.
Look, I gave you a lot of shit last week. By the way, there were quite a few people that agreed with you over me on the Mario takes, so take solace in that.
I took solace in my opinion even before I got the opinions of everybody else. Thank you for backing me up, everybody. But Brandon, I was perfectly fine with my opinion.
Anyways, I have a question for you. Do you
Yeah.
think, or do you want, more accurately, them to address the fact that he looks different, or do you want it to just be, oh, it's Geralt? Like, do you want it to be like he takes a potion, he goes through some sort of magical transformation, or do you want it to be we never acknowledge it?
So there's a few ways I'm gonna start off my answer by saying this because this is the true answer. I wish they would have just canceled the show. That that I think that's I think that's a fair statement. Again, nothing against Liam Hemsworth. Nothing. Look, this season 4 could be the best season of the whole show. It could completely blow us away. I really am gonna doubt it, but it really could. No, I look. There is like okay, if you're doing a sitcom, let's use let's because you know this show very well. Let's use Brooklyn Nine-Nine as an example. You have Andy Samberg come in. Let's say it's season 2, right? And Andy Samberg just decides because of writing he wants to up and leave. And so they bring in Bill Hader to come in and he replaces Andy Samberg's character. They don't write a new character, they just completely replace his character. That's more okay to give the wink to the camera or give a reasoning for why he looks different. You could find a way to write that and make a joke out of it. With a show like The Witcher, with a show like Game of Thrones, with a show like Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, all of these shows that are more, I'm not saying brought down to earth, but they're more realistic style and they're following a straight standard story. You can't really address it. You just have to accept it. That's the issue. So I guess answering your question, no, I don't want them to address it at all. Because
Not even with because another example
no.
that came to my mind would be the recasting of General Ross in the Marvel. I know we keep bringing up MCU examples, but they have a lot of notorious recasting.
That's
General
true.
Ross, they had one offhand statement about his mustache. Oh, you shaved the mustache. That was like
Look,
a offhand. Do you want something like would that be acceptable, or you literally just
that's more
General
acceptable.
Ross?
But again, that's more acceptable. But it also falls in line with the camp of what I just said, where it sometimes can be too unbelievably unrealistic. That wasn't because again, Marvel. I love Marvel, but we can all agree that at times it is campy. It is very tongue in cheek, weak at the camera. But you can have a fun time with a joke like that. Plus, it's Harrison Ford. Who's not going to laugh at Harrison Ford? With something like this, and Marvel was also very different. It wasn't the guy left because of creative differences. The actor who played Ross
He
passed
passed
away
away.
in
Yeah. No,
2020.
I'm aware. Yeah.
So they were actively recasting him for that reason. So I think that you gotta look at it from multiple different perspectives. It's hard. It is really hard to come up with an answer like that, but I feel like it's easier just to not address it, just to let it go. Again, you can throw a corny joke in there, I guess, but that was never Witcher to me. Like even maybe season 3 Witcher, but seasons 1 and 2 weren't that. And if you want to try to get back to where you were, you can't do that. You just have to go full steams ahead. Let everybody, just accept it. That's just what you have to do.
No, and I do think I think that's fair, honestly. I would agree. I've heard a little chatter online about people saying it was like, "Oh, maybe it'll be like a potion or something he has to like disguise himself." But at the end of the day, it's not going to make fans care. They're not they don't that's not what they're looking
Sure.
for. They would have just rather, like you said, cancel it. That's the honest and
Sure.
true answer. I feel like
Right.
the viewership of this is going to be really high, maybe for the first episode, just for people to see what it looks like, and then
Yeah.
on the quality,
Yeah.
fall off will probably be pretty high as well.
Again, it depends on how well they do. And honestly, they may even still have a fall off from episode 1 to 2, regardless of if it's good or not. Sometimes that is also true. A show can get better, but the fall off from what the previous season is too great for it to come back. The Walking Dead was like that. And granted, I didn't start watching The Walking Dead until it was in its 8th season. So this was, oh my God, this was 2018. I want to say it's 2018. I want to say that's right. It was in its like last few episodes of the 8th season. I watched all the way up to the point, and then I watched it live. And I was actually one of the only people who finished that show live. I was there and I watched it consistently. The show actually, for what you don't know, seasons 7 and 8 are considered the worst seasons of that show. Mostly because they make some choices that you're just like, you don't agree with that. There's really good acting, there's good moments, but there's moments within that season that you go, why would they make that choice? Why did they do that? Especially after you do something like this and this. It pisses people off.
Yeah.
They lost a lot of their viewership. Seasons 9 and seasons 10 really revitalized the show. It was completely different from what the past few seasons had been. It was great writing, very well, very competently executed. But because of how much they had actually lost previously, they were never ever able to regain what they had. They went from, I believe the statistic was, they went from pulling 17 million. No, it had to have been more than that.
A high number to a low number.
100 and some, maybe 17 million. Let's just say it's 17 million. It was a high number to a low number. I know what the low number was. It went from like 17 million in its prime. Each episode, people would watch it, to in its final episode, there was only 1 million people watching it.
Dang.
They had lost so many viewers because of it. So Witcher could also pull something like that, where maybe season 4 is genuinely really good, but you're not going to get anybody watching it because of the fact that season 3 was just such a fall off, and because you're losing Cavill, it could create a whole thing. So that's how I look at that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. I mean, I'll probably tune in. We might even review it on the podcast, honestly, because I know it's we both enjoy.
Maybe.
But we'll find
That'll
out.
also
I will tell you,
be
we're so booked out for the rest of the year for topics that we'll see if we can honestly squeeze it in. I'll have to look because I forgot.
Yeah, it would be one of those things where it's like we would watch it and probably we wouldn't do it like a week by week thing. We would just watch it all at once and then just say, "Hey, this is what we thought." You know, just leave it at that. Or maybe I'll do maybe I will do like I'll watch it and I'll do like episode by episode shorts on the short form content part of the channel. Although if it continued, like here's the thing: if I started the short form content, it was great, and it just kept getting worse. There might be a point where I just stop posting short form content for The Witcher. There would probably be a moment where I just drop off. You know, we other things that were announced this week. We got the Anaconda trailer, which I had heard when they were making that movie. I was like, that's got to be fun. It's Jack Black and Paul Rudd. What more could you possibly want from a film? Then you also add oh my God, what's his name? The guy who plays Mr. Heffley in Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
You're not gonna get that out of me.
I'm so upset that I can't remember the actor's name because he's such an iconic actor too. Like that's not even his best role. Like he's done so much other stuff, and I'm reducing him to Greg Heffley's father from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Well,
oh my God, but he's in it.
Have you seen the original Anaconda? Because obviously this is a like, I know the original Anaconda isn't as comedy focused, right? It is a lot more of like I don't want to call it horror, but thriller. And this is very much taking a tonal shift. It's taking a thematic shift. And that's just because obviously it's the Jack Black, Paul Rudd. I don't want to say they're bad drama actors, but they really aren't drama actors. They're comedy actors. So if you throw them into something, you have to lean into the comedy. So have you seen the original Anaconda, and are you,
No.
I guess, okay. So then I guess my next question of are you happy with the change is kind of irrelevant.
I have no idea what the changes would be, even if like there are some people who like brought this movie up to me initially, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a really fun concept. I can't believe they're remaking this." What movie is this? What is this a remake of? That was my actual response. I'd never heard of this movie, and I'm the
I
movie guy
have.
too. You would
I'm
think
not
I
the
would have heard
movie
of this.
guy, and I've heard about this movie. That's hilarious.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no, that's why I'm like, wow, okay, maybe I have heard about it at one point, and I just completely scrubbed it from my mind because I never watched it and I never cared to watch it, so it just kind of like just went in one ear, out the other.
Well, it's
But,
on the schedule for when it comes out, so
it'll be fun though. It does look like a fun movie at the very least. If all else fails, it looks fun.
yeah.
We also, I guess the last piece of news that we got this week, and it's whatever, but Doomsday wrapped filming, so we'll leave it at that. And the final report, like prior to that, was they still don't have a complete script. Okay, thanks for wrapping filming. I don't look because here's the other thing: I don't know what's true anymore because the internet also is like
I don't
the
trust
Russo
anyone
brothers.
when it comes to Marvel. I literally don't.
I
I
don't know
trust
anymore.
0 people, including Marvel themselves, to say the truth. That's why when the movie comes out, we will watch it.
Oh, absolutely. But it's also one of those things of like, I keep seeing a lot of reports saying about like, other than Winter Soldier, the Russo brothers, every single MCU film they've worked on, it had to have been, it was never a complete script. Most of it was done in reshoots, and then they finished the script later. Like that's what I've heard. Like people kept saying Infinity War was, not a complete script. Endgame was not a complete script. I have no idea if that's true. Because when those films were coming out, I wasn't diving deep enough to look into that to know if that's true or not. So I'm going based off the word of some person in, on this website, which I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Yeah.
And we're saying that because Doomsday is not a complete script. At least by the ending of what the last report before they wrapped filming is they hadn't had a complete script. So here's my thing. Either way, I'm watching this film and I'm going to enjoy this film. If we get to December and if they do a bunch of reshoots and do all these things to kind of put it together and it ends up being a really good like packaged product, yeah, the Russo brothers probably are good at making a film, pretty fun out of making reshoots and having an unfinished script. I'd probably be more agree to that, but I just don't know if that was true in the past, so I can't say for certainty right now that they're going to be able to pull it off with something like that.
Yeah. No, I trust the Russo brothers. Our comment section on the short that we posted about Russo brothers versus James Gunn there's a lot of thoughts in there. And personally, I'll just reiterate my thoughts. I think the Russo brothers are the best comic book directors, so I do have faith in them. I just understand that the direction that Marvel has taken because of the incident with Jonathan Majors, it's going
Yeah.
to be they were put in a bad position, and I'm curious how much fault for if Doomsday isn't good would be the Russo brothers versus the general setup that got kind of crumbled of Marvel. And only to actually we'll probably never know, to be honest with you, which one is true on who has more faults.
That
And
might
here's the
that
thing.
might be a question that just never
I'm
gets answered.
I'm hoping Doomsday comes out and is better than Endgame.
We're,
Will it be?
we're all
We don't
we're
know.
well, I think we're also all hoping that because there's so much that they're offering in this film that Endgame just couldn't offer. Endgame offered a really good resolution to the story that they had told to that point. This film is like with the chair reveal is banking on a multiversal movie. This is probably the biggest multiversal event that has been done to this day. It's not even a joke about that. When you start including X-Men and potentially, maybe Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, maybe Secret Wars, I don't know. But when you start including all of these people that, we either haven't seen in years or we really want to see again, you get what I mean? It's just like this film has a lot more to offer than something like Endgame had. Endgame offered a lot, don't get me wrong, but it was also I'm talking like it's an ancient film when I say this, but Endgame was a product of its time.
So
It was like
here's the thing. I'm gonna retcon what I said earlier. Not full retcon, but I think we need to change the way that we look at Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Probably.
Because
Probably.
a lot of people, including myself, and this is why as I'm thinking about it through this conversation, Doomsday and Secret Wars isn't Endgame. Endgame was the
No.
end of a 10-year era. It was the
Correct.
end of the biggest event in admittedly, whether you love Marvel or not, it legitimately is the biggest event in cinematic history. That is the reason it is one of the top grossing movies of all time. It was the end of something that had been built up and no one had thought possible or had done before and might never do again. Now, the reason why I say we need to change the way that we see Doomsday and Secret Wars is because I feel like a lot of people, and again, including myself, were comparing it to an Infinity War, to a Doom, or to an Endgame. This isn't the end of an era. With the way that they're building this movie up, with incorporating the X-Men, with incorporating the new Avengers, with incorporating the young Avengers, this is the start of the next era of Marvel. I really think that with what we know about Secret Wars, they're not looking to, yes, they're obviously looking to end the previous era of Marvel, but less than Endgame did, and more for the idea of setting up the next era, the mutant era, the inhuman era, the young era of Avengers, because that's the way that they've been talking about it with bringing in X-Men films after this movie wraps and kind of shifting their thought process in terms of casting for longevity and recasting of old characters. This isn't the end of an era, this is the start of an era. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, I'm not saying it takes less pressure off the movie, but it recontextualizes our expectations in a way where I feel like we'll be more excited than we would be worried about, oh, they didn't do enough setup for this movie, which again,
Sure.
admittedly is something I've said myself.
Right. No, I don't disagree with you. That is probably the way we should look at it. Is it the end of a multiverse saga? Yes. Is it the end of a 10-year long big event that you've built over a long period of time? No. It has actually, when you objectively look at when they actually started, it has been a while now, but it
Well,
certainly isn't anything near 10 years.
Endgame came out in 2019, Doomsday will release in 2026, and then Secret Wars will be 2027. So
Sure.
you're talking what? 9 or not 9, 7 years, 9 wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 years. Yeah, that's what I thought. 8 years.
Pretty much 8 years. Which again, it isn't, that's not a long period of time compared to technically it was 11 since Endgame. Like since like that first Iron Man movie, it was 11 in between those. Um maybe even longer. No, it was. That's what it was. I don't know. We'll wait and see. We just have to figure all of it out at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Only time will tell, but I do think that recontextualizing the way that we look at what the purpose of this movie is will really help better level set our expectations in
Sure.
terms of no, it is concluding the multiverse saga, but less than Endgame concluded its saga. This is acting because
Right.
Endgame didn't set up the future. Admittedly, it didn't. That wasn't the purpose it sought to have. Secret Wars and Doomsday are very clearly, with the way that they're talking about it, looking to set up the future of Marvel and what it looks like for the
Sure.
next 10 years.
Or the soft reboot, from what we've heard. That could also be the option. So,
but again, that's
depends.
still setting up. That's still
it's setting. No, it's setting up. But you get what I mean. Let's get into this. Let's talk about a DC product in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods Podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I am your host this evening, Carson, aka Juggernaut, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
And today we are continuing our talk about Peacemaker Season 2, and we're talking about a not so new movie, a few months old at this point, but we're talking about Novocaine because we had to fill the gap. And you're Novocaine, why not? Sure, let's see what happens.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the cold open, this is like legitimately like the one gap that we have. Other than that, we have so much booked out for like literally the rest of the year in terms of talking points that I was like, we're never going to get to talk about Novocaine because it came out before the podcast started. So with the like one break that we have, let's fuck it, we ball. We're talking about Novocaine because I wanted to see it, and this gives me an excuse to see it and
it
talk
gives you
about
an
it.
excuse. Yeah, I mean, before we get into that, Brandon, how you feeling, bud? You all right?
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. This was a roller coaster of a week. We
Uh-huh.
haven't talked about this off the podcast, and I try to not talk about work on the podcast, obviously, because like one, I can't. Um, two, I just don't want to. But one of my favorite coworkers is leaving, so that was really rough. Like I got really good news about my position in the company that I work for, and then, like, legitimately the next day, my coworker calls me up out of the blue and is like, "Hey, so I'm leaving in like a week or two." And I was like, "Oh, this is awful." So it's been a roller coaster of a week, to say the least.
It's like if they offer you a job, we want you to be the senior vice manager of the company. But what's happening to Bob? You get a phone call later from Bob. So they just fired me.
I will say, he's leaving of his own fruition to do a job that he really wants to do and is really excited for. No, I get the joke,
I
but like,
I know
I
it's
am
it's
happy
a joke.
for him,
I kid. I
but
kid.
it does suck.
No, I get that. I'm tired. I was out till 3:30 again at
Yeah,
Halloween Horror
yourself.
Nights. I got to watch the show. It was really cool. It was really fun. However, I also can't remember half the stuff I did last night. I do remember going and seeing how long the lines were and realizing, let's go ride some rides. I think that's what we're gonna do tonight. And so we rode a bunch of lines, rides, did like 2 houses, and then we basically just left.
Well, it's funny because we're recording this on Sunday. This episode's going up late, even though we're terrible at being consistent. Thanks, Carson. It is
Yeah.
we moved the recording to today because Carson was like, "Oh, I want to spend time with my grandma before she leaves town," and I was like, "Oh, that's totally okay. This is your grandma's last day." I get a text message this morning. Can we do 12? And I was like, "No, we agreed to do 10 because we moved it." And he's like, "I was out at Halloween Horror Nights, motherfucker. That's not your grandma."
It was the strangest thing because I get it like she goes to bed last night and I get a text from our friend and he's like, "You want to go?" Yeah, let's go. Frick it, we ball.
Carson has zero self control, as you
I
can
do.
tell.
I do. I have a hard time saying no to people. Anyway, talking about things about saying no, let's talk about Christopher Smith and how he just can't say no to going to another universe. Peacemaker season 2, episode 5. Um Brandon, why don't you start us off? Why
Yeah,
don't you start us off,
so
bud?
I'm very curious to see your thoughts on this episode because we disagreed so much on last week's episode and pretty much
Yeah.
every episode up until this point.
Yeah.
I will say last week's episode still is my favorite of the recent episodes. This is definitely a second. I really like the setup. We have a very clear direction of where the season's going to go. They have absolutely outlined everything out for us. We obviously still have questions, but they're the natural questions of, oh, this is what the show seeks to answer, as opposed to, well, where is this show even gonna go? And I really like that. It's interesting that they did that at episode 5 and not episode 4, since we only have 3 episodes left after this. But I really do like I don't know. They took my least favorite character and made him not as hateable in this episode, so maybe that's
I
why.
was getting ready to bring that up and I was really gonna
Yeah,
rub it in your face. You had to talk
he
about it.
wasn't. Hey, you hated him too. You hated his ass too, so I don't want to hear it. Anyways, they made Langston not as hateable this episode. Granted, he had like 5 seconds of screen time, but in those 5 seconds, he wasn't as bad. Um, he had more than 5 seconds, but still, I really liked the character. I don't know. I'm happy with the reason why Peacemaker is leaving because I think it makes sense for his character because the whole setup of, oh, obviously he's just misunderstanding the situation just fits so perfectly for his character and who he is as a person. Of course, he's going to assume not necessarily the worst, but like he doesn't get along with people well because of his upbringing and because of his family. So he'd obviously have mistrust and think the worst in people that are around him. So him thinking that of Hardcore when Hardcore attacked him, it makes sense. And I think that that's actually a good setup for the reason why he leaves.
Sure.
Now, I have a question for you. Do you think that Do you still think that they're gonna go the Earth X direction, or do you think that now the reason he comes back, because now I'm kind of torn and back and forth. Like, I would still be okay with the Earth X, but now that we've gone the direction of the reason he left and the reason why they pull him back might not be because the other Earth is bad. It might just be because his friends want him back. Because I think that was my biggest thing
No.
in believing the Earth X was, oh, we need a reason for Peacemaker to want to leave.
No, to answer your question, no, they can still easily pull off Earth X. Next episode, it could be at the end of the episode and they reveal that it's Earth X.
Fair
Honestly, it
enough.
could be midway through episode 7 and they could reveal it. Because then episode 8 is him trying to get back to his universe, and then you kind of, wrap it all up at the end. You could easily make that the story. You could easily tell it that. Do I think that's fully going to be the story? No, because they do have there's basically like 2 plots going off at once here, and they will eventually converge. You have the multiverse stuff with Chris, and then you have Flag. That's how I kind of have to like look at this story. It's like there's 2 separate storylines going on. They both on a like one track
They're
going towards the same
converging.
direction to converge. But the Flag storyline is very different from the Peacemaker storyline. The only reason they're even connected right now at all is because Flag just wants to kill Chris. Like, he actively wants to murder Chris, and that's it.
Well, I have another question then. Do you believe Rick Flag in
No.
saying that you don't?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest chance. He is out for revenge. And you know what's still funny about it is at the end of all of this, I still have a strong feeling Flag's gonna get away with, like, he's not gonna have like he's gonna have a moral moment where he's like, I can't kill you. Like, even though you did this to my son, I can't. Whatever reason he's gonna have that. Maybe it's because he runs into his son in this other universe. I really don't know. But he's going to realize the way he's kind of going down. He's going to realize all these things, and then it's gonna be that pretty much. I think and he's just gonna like break off, go back to the universe, be done with it. No, he doesn't actually mean that. I so doubt that he means that.
Fair enough,
Um,
honestly, fair enough. I didn't fully believe him either. He was just kind of
no.
making an excuse for his actions.
Yeah, he's just trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just trying to. He's just trying to get out of what was in the moment.
Yeah, clear. I want to get into the back and forth of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up my thoughts now. I enjoyed the episode. I really liked the direction that we're going. I liked the way that they're like taking the characters. Again, it does make me forgive the early episodes more because I can see the vision better. I think again, my problem with the direction that they started out at, I just couldn't see the end goal. I couldn't see what they
Mm,
wanted to do. And I still hold that lower because of that. But now looking back, I can understand a little bit more as to why the characters were acting the way that they were, because now we have context behind things and we're starting to see that like logical change, if that makes
sure,
sense.
sure. Um, I guess for me, this episode, I feel the same way I do about this episode that I did last episode. I think this episode just has more direction, so that's why it's significantly better than last week for me. Um, I do think that it's probably, I don't know. I'd have to sit and think about it before I decide if it's my favorite episode. But right now, it's more on par with what we were given. Um, other than last week. This actually has direction. We know where it's going. We know where the story's going, and it really. This was the episode that really starts to hammer home the Rick Flag Peacemaker arc, with them finally basically coming face to face and Flag beating the ever loving crap out of Chris, which is the first interaction that they've really had, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, you like it is the first interaction that they have actually had, but like this is like the first encounter that they're having in the whole situation. And that goes a long way. They actually tried to give Vigilante something this episode, which is more like dramatic, and you don't get normally when he's just crying over Adebayo's shoulder about the fact that Chris just up and left. So I thought that was a really good idea. I liked that. And I think the biggest takeaway from this episode, especially as far as direction, is everybody's back together now. There's not one person who's working for themselves. They're not all separate. They are all the team that we all know them to be again, which I think is a really big positive thing here. And so it's just things I like. I guess if I had one thing I didn't like is I feel like this episode could have been longer.
Yeah, this was a very short episode because it looked like it was going to be 45 minutes, but then you cut out the intro, you cut out the starting thing, and you cut out the like 10 minutes of credits. It was what? Maybe a 30-minute episode, which kind of
Yeah,
took me off guard.
this episode could have been longer. That's my like one complaint with it, because I feel like you could have done more within the time and you could have given a lot more. But I still liked it. It was still a very fun episode. Let's start the back and forth with something that I really want to talk about.
Okay.
And that is the new series lead, the new greatest character of all time, the new GOAT, Langston, played by Tim Meadows, who gets
Shut the fuck up.
he gets a very
No.
redemptive moment, and he says something nice and is a good comment for once. And I'm gonna say something brutally honest here. Tim Meadows, in that moment, earned my respect, and he can stay alive in the show. I actually want to see Langston make it to the end.
I am
I'm
the
sorry, is that
notorious. I love Tim Meadows. I'm going to start this again because this will probably be a clip. I love Tim Meadows. I just don't like Langston. Now, in this episode, Langston
I'm
is
I'm totally
acceptable.
joking.
He is an acceptable character. Did I want to kill him in this episode? No. Did I see that they might be setting up for a redemption arc? Yes. Do I think he's still going to die? Yes. Will I still celebrate it? Probably.
It'll get about 2 seconds of a salute, and then the rest is going to be laughter and cheering.
I look, on a serious note though, jokes aside, I do think that what they gave Langston in this episode definitely him wanting to protect I don't want to say protect Chris, but like his little interaction with Economos on like, hey, you did the right thing by booking Chris, and his whole line of dialogue of I guess kind of taking accountability for the conversation he had with Judo Master, and he called him names like he always does, but then kind of took
Yeah.
a beat after unfortunately after he's insulted, but he still took a beat and then was a little bit more respectful. I can see
Right.
them using that to set up for a redemption arc. And again, on a serious note, I wouldn't be upset if he lived. Like,
No. Again, it
if they
only started off
redeemed
because he was a
him.
comedic. It also only started off when they were just playing him as a comedic character, and he actively looked like he was just going to be cannon fodder for for a death
But then
later on. Now they're
it was
actively giving
annoying
something.
comedy.
And it
It was
is also
annoying.
it's a really unique comparison when you look at I know it's weird, but when you look at Flag Senior and you look at Langston, they're they're both there to accomplish the same mission. And Langston takes his job seriously, and seriously, he cracks jokes and he calls people titties and all this stuff. As serious can get for Tim Meadows. But when you look at them side by side, Langston is on the right path of he's just doing his job and he's doing what he believes right, which is he does believe Chris should be brought in for the portal incident. But he also understands that Flag is doing this for revenge. And so when he does see what Economos does, he's not upset by it. It's genuinely a smart thing, and he agrees with that. Because he also doesn't want to see Chris just die. He doesn't want to see him brutally murdered like that, even though he doesn't know Chris. Like he's still an honorable human being at the end of the day. Again, honorable for a person who calls their teammate titties. How do you like how did that work in my mouth? He's so honorable. He's so good. But it does humanize him a little bit more than what we had. And it creates a nice parallel between Flag and Langston, which is really funny considering that you never would have thought there'd be a parallel, and now there kind of is.
I mean, I don't necessarily see the parallel, and the redemption is not shocking. It's just like, again, I'm more happy with the direction that they're taking his character, and I can understand the redemption arc that they might be giving him. I still just think that like look, credit where credit's due. James Gunn did his job. He made Langston very hateable. That's all I'll say. That's where I'll leave it
Sure.
because
Sure. But I mean, I
I
guess
have another
wrapping up.
question.
Oh, you go right ahead. Never mind. We won't wrap up the Tim Meadows conversation.
No. This isn't to do with Tim Meadows. I was wrapping up the Tim Meadows to move into a different question.
Oh yeah, wrapping up Tim Meadows. Thank you for the redemptive arc. That's it. Thank you, but okay.
Yeah, question. We're introduced to a character a few episodes ago, and now we
Yeah,
get a different look at this character, and they're called something. They're called a cyborg. Do you think that this is the cyborg, or do you think she is just a cyborg?
I in the comics was Cyborg ever a female?
I don't know, and I don't think so. But
So
also, the story of the creation of Cyborg is very different. It's mentioned here that she is mangled in a plane crash, put back together, and now she is a soldier. In the original, it was, I believe, experimentations from his dad for one of the cubes. I can't
yes.
the cubes that you see in the Justice League.
So no, I don't think this is the Cyborg. I think it's a cyborg. I don't think it's the cyborg because the cyborg was never a soldier. Cyborg is still technically when he was created, and even like you look at comics, you look at Justice League, and there might be different variations of him. Was just a kid
For the most part, yeah.
who was in a car accident. He was a football player in high school, or again, I don't know the full backstory of Cyborg. I'm mostly going off of the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, which I probably shouldn't, but I am anyway. He's technically just a kid. He's not supposed. Well, and I say kid like he's like a high school kid, a college age young adult. I'll say
Yeah.
that. That's who he's supposed to be. And so, no, I don't think that that's the cyborg. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Luthor Corp cyborg, though. If this is somebody that Lex Luthor ended up working on
Ooh.
to fix because of the plane crash. That I wouldn't be
Guess
surprised about.
that'd be interesting. I don't know if I'd necessarily love that, but it is.
It'd be logical. It'd be logical to assume who else would have worked on her.
I mean,
Like,
it's
genuinely.
Argus has resources. That's the thing.
I
Like,
guess it's
Argus
true.
has resources to do their own thing,
I guess
and
it's true.
it's. Sorry, I had to look up her name because I honestly forgot the character's name, so I called her
I don't even
Cyborg.
know. Sure.
The actor is no, where'd it go? It is or so the actual character is Sasha Bordeaux or Bordeaux.
Okay.
I don't know. Sasha. Okay. She's not cyborg, or she's not the cyborg. She is a cyborg. But her and Rick Flag Senior got some. There's a relationship brewing there, and I don't know. Honestly, because of that relationship, it would be interesting if she was a cyborg placed in there from Lex to spy, and her mission is to get close to Rick Flag Senior in order to manipulate him. That would be
Maybe.
interesting.
I don't even know if it's like I wouldn't even go that far to say that. Like that's not even what I was really getting at. I was just getting at more the idea that Luthor Corp was the one to put her back together. Because, Lex has proven that he can do it before.
I mean,
Why
yeah.
not do it again?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility that it is a Lex related thing. I don't think so, but obviously, again, she has the hots for Rick Flag Senior.
Sure.
Do you think that
Yeah.
that is for good intent and natural intent, or
No.
do you think? Okay, what are your thoughts on that?
I'd probably bad intent. I don't know where it would go, but I would doubt it'd be good intent. I don't, based on how they're setting it up, I don't see that as being anything positive in any factor. You know what I mean? Especially because Flag Senior right now is in a moment where he is easily manipulated because he's so blindsided by rage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the truth.
And she's feeding into that.
Kind of. Yeah. Honestly, next week we could see an episode and this could all mean nothing. Really, it could all mean nothing. This might actually mean jack squat. It really could. because
It
ultimately
will mean something.
we hope it does, because we're talking about it. But this could be just a thing where it's like, oh, they have a relationship here. No, I guess they didn't, because it was never answered. That could also be a factor where that happens. I really hope it does, though, at this point. But I don't know. There's not like a lot to talk about when it comes to that. But Flag Senior is easily vulnerable. He's very easily able to be manipulated in this moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if she is trying to manipulate him or spy on him for somebody or whatever. It wouldn't be for a positive intention.
Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely think that I don't think she just actually has the hots for him. I think that she's taking advantage of his anger and rage, feeding into it for malicious intent. It's just, what is that malicious intent? We don't know. But moving off of that, let's talk about the best character in all of Peacemaker. My favorite character in the
Oh.
it took you a second, but you remember what we talked about last week's episode? The motherfucking Eagle Hunter, baby. He
Red
got his
Saint
time to
Wild.
shine and then died. He got brutally murdered by the Eagles in an amazing scene where I genuinely believed that he killed Eagly for a second. Like, I actually thought he killed Eagly. And then for them to lean into the Prime Eagle thing at the end with that shot of Eagly with the whatever it was behind him. Oh my God, dude. I ate it up. Michael Rooker. You wanted to complain about, like, oh, did they really kill Michael Rooker in like one episode by hitting his head on a rock? No, they killed him one episode later by being killed by Eagles.
I accept that more for the way he went out, though, because it makes more sense for his character. But it does harken the question: did Michael Rooker just like not want a big role in the DCEU? Because it's clear.
This is not the last time we're seeing Michael Rooker in the DCU.
At least in this, he could voice somebody, but we really, unless they like, I don't know, put him in makeup or something.
Yeah.
Alien, yeah, I guess we could see him. I hope it's not the last time we see Michael Rooker, because he and James Gunn do really well together. And look, this was clearly a bit role. Don't make it the last time we see him. Give him something, please.
I don't know. I just loved that scene. It was so funny. And yeah, I did think that they killed Eagly.
I never thought it would be possible to one up the other action sequence in this episode. Nope, they did. It's the Eagles ripping apart, Red Saint Wild. You're like, okay, well, I guess that happened. I guess he's dead now. That was my reaction. I'm like, how is that actually like? How was that? It was CGI too. I find it really funny that they're probably just like on set and it's just Michael Rooker and a bunch of CGI balls flying around him that they later digitally put in to be Eagles. I wish I was there on set that day, because there literally was nothing else other than that.
I mean, this wouldn't be the first time he's acted with CGI. I mean, that's 90% of the Guardians movies.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about the more the more heartwarming action sequence, which is Flag wailing on Chris and beating him up.
Oh, the heartwarming beatdown? Uh-huh.
Well, it has a more emotional resonance to it because of the reasoning behind it. You've come to enjoy Chris's character to this point, but at the end of the day, he still did kill Flag Jr. Was it at the behest of Waller? Yes. But this whole sequence is emotional because you liked Flag. You do. That's what's so difficult about the Suicide Squad. And that's what I loved about that movie when it first came out, was that they killed Flag, but then they also killed like a genuinely good person. Like, the reason he was doing it was for a good reason. He was trying to expose the American government for having their part in Project Starfish.
I don't know if I'd go as far as saying good person. He had an admirable mission, but I don't know if I'd still call him a good person. I mean, obviously,
in what way was he?
He's a womanizer.
Sure. Okay. Not in the Suicide Squad. He wasn't.
Yeah. Well, we didn't see him do it necessarily, but we have the carryover into here where we establish with Hardcore, where we see the funeral at the start of this episode where she's talking to Rick Flag Sr. and he's like, "Oh, my son loved you," and he's like, "Oh, sure," and the 50 million other women that he slept with. Like
Well,
clearly,
I get that. I'm not talking about that. That I'm talking about like prior to that episode when we get that, we had no inclination. I'm talking about the Suicide Squad in this moment from when it came out. I'm talking about the ideology that they started with. Yes, we know that information now. We didn't know that then. I'm talking about it right now in the moment after walking out of Suicide Squad. That moment was hard because he was a good person. There wasn't anything to say that he was a wicked person. Chris also is seen as antagonistic, but he's doing what he does because it's what Waller asked him to do. It's his mission as a part of the Suicide Squad to kill anybody that goes against the plan. That is literally the whole point of the character, and that's what makes that interaction and that character so well put together, especially when Flag does die, because you do see that Chris killing him isn't a I want to do this. It literally was a I have to, otherwise I'm going to be dead because Waller's going to blow my head off and this and that, and this was the mission from the start. You know, it just makes it interesting. And then carrying it over into this battle now between Flag Senior and Chris. Chris doesn't even fight back. He's not actively trying to fight back. He doesn't want to. He's just letting Flag Senior wail on him. Flag Senior, being so blindsided by rage, has no inclination at all as to what's happening. Also, at the same time, Chris doesn't know, Flag Senior doesn't know that technically he was a womanizer. That I don't think is ever going to play a factor into it. I think that was just showing that he was a womanizer in a certain sense. But I don't think that's ever going to play a factor in the long run.
I mean, it does play a factor in the rift between Hardcore and Flag Jr.'s
Yeah,
relationship
yes.
and why. Here's the thing. I think that line, the whole "he's a womanizer" line, gives context to the reason why Hardcore isn't as upset at Rick Flag Jr.'s death as Senior is. Because Senior, even if his son's a womanizer, that's still his son. He still cares about him,
Yeah.
obviously. But Hardcore, from just a, I guess, relationship perspective, him being a womanizer obviously puts a rift in their relationship. And it would make sense as to why she wouldn't hold as much hatred in her heart for Peacemaker for killing him as Senior would. So I don't think it's a nothing line. I think it's just it plays a factor in why Hardcore is helping Chris more than she's angry at Chris.
Yes, and I'm not saying it's a non-factor. I'm just saying it's a factor that's not going to come back into play at all. That's like, oh, a big reveal for Flag Senior. I just think it's meant to be there for like a character point for Hardcore to then carry with her. That's what I think that moment's for. And so I don't know. Again, it's heartwarming when you I say heartwarming. I'm trying to think of a better word to say for the fight sequence. I'm trying to look for any other word, but there's so wait. That's the word. The weight. It carries, this fight scene carries so much weight to it and has so much weight on it that you just can't help but watch it all play out. And it's built over the past, I guess, 4 years since the Suicide Squad came out. And it's just done really, really well. I'm very excited to see where this story goes as far as those two. Like I can't, my excitement level for when the show had started, because I knew they were going to run into this problem, versus where it's at now, I'm like, it's going to be really good and it's going to have a great payoff. Just do it right and handle it right. Because let's just say they're cooking right now with how good it is.
Yeah, these past 2 episodes have definitely gotten me way more excited to see where they take this story and where they can, I guess, progress these characters. I mean, you also have like Economos. Again, big problem with the way Economos was kind of like not doing anything in the beginning, but it makes sense. He even has the line of dialogue where he's talking to Hardcore and he fights back against the whole booking him. And you have the I'm a notorious pussy. This is like a well-established fact. Like I don't like doing this type of thing. I don't like putting myself in that position. And so
Sure.
yeah, you're right, Economos. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to love the fact that you are one and that you've sold out your friends in the past, but you are trying to do right. You are caring about them. You are
Sure.
booking Chris and helping him to the car. You are covering up things. Like I can appreciate that, and I really do have a lot different perspective on
Sure.
Economos.
Sure. Um, which is good because again, Economos to a certain extent really has not done anything helpful towards the group until that moment. So it's a good thing that
I
he's
mean,
doing that.
the last two episodes, yeah, he has really
The
like I guess
last two,
turned around on it.
the last two have been fine. Um, but yeah, definitely from where he started versus now, thank God they did that. And again, like I said at the top of my initial thoughts, they're all together again. And
Yeah,
now they're all working together towards the same goal. Which is the biggest positive, and we still have 3 episodes left to get that done. Um, the one thing I don't necessarily like, because I don't know what they're gonna do with it, and I honestly, I'm so mid on this character. It's what are they gonna do with Juno Master being in the alternate universe? Why is Juno Master there? Why is Juno Master in season 2? I'm being completely honest. I'm just not a big fan of Juno Master. I don't think there's anything like really latching me onto this character. I don't even think the jokes are that funny with this character. I think the character's just okay. It's an antagonistic force for Chris to stop. It quite literally, it is the exact opposite of Peacemaker in every single way. Uh, but
yeah. Well, my thoughts on Judo Master, his intentions in the first season. I did not like how many times Judo Master kept coming back and the fact that they kept making you think that they killed him just for him to come back. I didn't like that. But his intentions made sense. The whole line of
sure,
dialogue as to why Judo Master was there was because he was trying to save the world and he was convinced by the butterflies that this was for the greater good. Now,
sure,
the only sense of a motivation that you have at a judo master is revenge. He wants revenge, just like Senior does for Peacemaker and Economos and the rest of the crew having stopped the
right.
butterflies. I don't see that as a good enough motivation to justify bringing him back. I
I
really
agree.
don't. His
I
character
agree.
is just there to be the butt of a few jokes and to be a view him as a weapon, I guess. Like, fill in any other agent, and to me, it would have probably done better than bringing back Judo Master, if not just the exact same feeling of he is just there to be another person to go after Peacemaker.
My dog decided to just start barking randomly and go off, and I don't know why.
He's also angry about Judo Master. Your dog also
I'm
thinks Judo Master
it
is stupid. Like,
must be
preach,
the
preach.
case. Preach. But I guess roping my thoughts together about episode 5, I really did as much like I know I talked a little bit more negative than positive about it. I did say pretty much everything I like had thoughts about. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was again pretty much on the same level as the others. Again, hard to say if I think it's my favorite right now, but I thought that they offered a lot in this episode and they gave direction that we just had been missing this entire time. Um, that really propels where the trajectory of what is the rest of the show going to look like? Where
Yeah,
is the end goal? What is the big character arc that we're getting here? And everybody really has had an arc. The only people who haven't necessarily had an arc are add a bio, but yeah, she will. It's just not like a big main plot arc. She will. It's just not going to be anything like major.
yeah,
By the end of the plot, I feel like she's going to be a character because again, the whole thing in the beginning was that she posts her ad in this big. I don't know. I guess it's detective agency ad. I don't know what it is, but she posted the
yeah,
ad. By the end of the season, she'll probably be getting phone calls or this or that regarding that ad or something.
agreed.
But definitely the biggest person who hasn't had an arc, and I don't think they necessarily have to, is Vigilante. Vigilante really hasn't had
Yeah,
anything. He's had character moments, and he's had moments like again breaking down crying without a bio. He just really hasn't had much this season. Maybe give him something. Maybe it's too late to give him something. if you're just going to make him like a firm rock, like this is who he is, he knows who he is, and he's a comedic relief character who adds some heart to heart for our main characters, fine. I can be okay with that. But you also haven't shown him in his suit at all the entire second season. So give Justice for Vigilante, give him something, please.
I do think that he's going to play a much bigger role in the other world, and I think it's going to make sense why he plays a bigger role in the other world. I think that I don't know if he's going to have an arc. I don't think they're going to give him like a full character arc, but I think he's just going to play a much more crucial role in that other world in the way that they're setting it up. I think if you want to give him an arc, he's going to be hunting for his doppelganger. Like, legitimately, he's going to be hunting for his doppelganger.
He's probably going to find his doppelganger's like dead or something, and that's going to like...
Probably.
That's going to freak him out. But, yeah, I guess putting my thoughts together, perfectly fine episode, very fun, had some good action, had some weight within the action, had actually some pretty decent character moments. We didn't really talk about it all that much, but the conversation between Chris and Hardcore I thought was really hard to have, but I did enjoy it. And so yeah, can't wait for next week. It's going to be a blast.
Wrong. We're not talking about Peacemaker next week because you said you didn't want to. Wrong. So we'll talk about what we're talking about next week, but just know there's a chance that we're not talking about Peacemaker next week. I'll get into the reasons why at the end, but yeah, just be aware that there might be a week without Peacemaker from us. But getting into the end of our Peacemaker conversation, Carson, you want to kick us off into the next one?
Yeah, let's talk about let's phrase it like this. Let's talk about just a blast of a film. Let's talk about a film that's just so much fun. Let's talk about Novocaine.
Yeah. So,
Brandon, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, a little bit of a setup, as I talked about a little bit earlier. I did not see this movie in theaters. I watched it on Amazon Prime after the fact. It wasn't that again, it was really just because the podcast wasn't out at the time and I didn't have AMC A-list, so I just was seeing less non-superhero movies. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. And so now I've gone back. The only other movie that I really want to see that came out earlier this year is Mickey 17. I know you were a little lower on it. We actually went back and forth on whether or not it was going to be Novocaine or Mickey 17. And Carson's the one who has seen both of those, said, hey, let's do Novocaine because you enjoyed that more. But I still want to see Mickey 17. In terms of Novocaine, I went in with like zero expectations, to be honest. Like I knew the concept, obviously. I'd seen the trailers in terms of it's a guy who can't feel pain, who is going to go on some sort of mission. I admittedly did not know anything about the setup. I didn't know about the bank robbery. I didn't know about the relationship. I knew like fuck all about this movie. And I really do think that like enhanced my experience because there's a plot here. It's not the best plot in the world, but there is a plot here. But you don't come here for the plot. You come here for some of the most creative and epic kills that I've seen on screen, and we're going to talk about those moments. But I really did have a fun time with this movie. This movie had me laughing. It had me like on my feet. Like I was actually hyped in a lot of moments in this movie. And you brought up Nobody 2 earlier. This is way better than Nobody or Nobody 2, in my opinion. No, I'm not saying you said it was better. I'm just saying you made that comparison, so I'm reiterating on that comparison. I do think that this is better than the Nobody series. So we just had some technical difficulties. There's going to be an awkward cut here. We apologize. Frustrating technical difficulties, but we're here and we're getting back to our thoughts on Novocaine. Admittedly, don't remember exactly what I was saying at the time, but I do think the comparison between the Nobody series and this is apt because they are going for that comedic action more than like a John Wick is, in the sense of it's a more serious action. So I do think that like Novocaine is probably more comparable to the Nobody series than even the John Wick series, but I enjoyed Novocaine more than Nobody, and a lot of that is just because they had a lot of really creative kills, and we'll talk about that later when we start to get into our back and forth. But the heart of the story it worked well enough. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than the heart of like a nobody. But again, it's nowhere. I'll stop comparing. But I enjoyed the heart. I enjoyed the core of the story. But ultimately, the things that got me the most hype were just how fun the kills were and how just it made so much sense. His character stays consistent the entire time because he's just an office worker who gets put in a really shitty situation, and that doesn't really change. He doesn't get better at killing people. He isn't some really good at fighting. The only thing he has going for him is the fact that he can't feel pain, and they stick with that, and they're, in my opinion, really consistent about that. And I really enjoy that they are consistent in that, and they don't try and retcon it in the set. Like, my biggest fear was when they pulled it up and we saw the like glint of the tattoo, it was gonna be like, oh, he's some special forces just like in whatever, and he's gonna be this badass. No, it made sense why he had the tattoos. It was something he gave himself, and that wasn't the fact that he was like some secret assassin. And he stays not good at killing people, but he's able to accomplish it just based off sheer willpower and drive and not feeling pain. So I appreciate and enjoyed the consistency in the character, and the kills were like genuinely really good. But Carson, this movie, granted, this was months ago at this point, was in your top 10 of favorite movies of the year. So what are your thoughts?
So I was gonna bring that up. I really was. There was the first good part of the year. There was a lot of shit that was released. Novocaine still might. I say with a very slim chance it might still be in my top 10. First off, it was a top 5 that I did. It wasn't a top 10.
Oh,
If it was a
fair,
top
fair,
10,
yeah.
oh, that'd be a horrible list because there was a lot of garbage that came out. It might be in my top 10. I only put it there because it was fun. There wasn't anything. So here's what I will say about the film. I compared it to Nobody 2 and Nobody 1 in the sense of they're just fun action films. That's
Mhm.
all they're going for. You don't necessarily go there for the story. You go there for the kills, for the action, the style of action that is. The style of action, like you mentioned, like Nobody goes for more the John Wick style. This goes for more just, you know, a very different type of action. Um, it is very different. Novocaine does something different, which is similar to the Long Walk. Similar to the Long Walk. The film doesn't overstay its welcome. It
Yeah.
is very cut and dry, start to finish. I actually really like because the trailer pretty much told us what the plot was to begin with. It was a guy going after the girl that he loves or likes to save her from a kidnapping. That's what the trailers were showing us and what they were trying to sell us on. The thing that I liked is that this movie really took its time to set everything up. Like the movie's only an hour 50 minutes. The actual action sequences didn't start until like an hour 20 in. The first
And then
section of it was just set up. And it was
it was
all
about 30 minutes. It was about 30 minutes of setup. 25 to 30 minutes of setup, and then you have the bank heist scene. And from there
no,
it's nonstop action.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You said an hour 20.
It was an hour 50 minutes, and by the hour 20 mark, which is 30 minutes, it
You worded that so poorly, it really
I
sounded
no,
like
no,
you said an hour and 20 minutes into the movie.
I'm
And I was
aware.
like, "No."
I'm aware of how poorly it was worded, but okay, whatever. Um and so anyway, 30 minutes of film, it takes its time setting up. I do appreciate that because you do kind of care for the story. This is something that is different from Nobody and Nobody 2. And even the John Wick franchise at times. Like John Wick, you have things that, you try to add moments here and there. This is a film that you actually do kind of have to care somewhat about the story to care about what's happening.
Yeah.
They give you an interesting premise. It's a guy who can't feel pain. While on top of that, you actually build a really charming relationship under all of it. And you add the very, very charismatic, very wonderful performance from Jack Quaid, which
Yeah.
came out of nowhere in this film. Jack Quaid, who is usually the supporting character in most projects, takes the reins here, and it proves that he is very much a leading man. We'll talk more about that later. But I really do and did appreciate just the fact that it took its time to set up. When we get to the action sequences, they're really fun. I don't think they're necessarily groundbreaking. When it's a kill, it's creative, but the action itself isn't necessarily groundbreaking. It's not anything new. Like, he's throwing turkeys and, he might occasionally stick his hand in the fryer or put his fist in the glass to scratch out the eyes of the guy. When it's those moments, it's kind of creative, but the rest of it, it's like when they're robbing the bank and they're shooting the guns everywhere, you're like, oh, okay. There isn't really anything special or flair. They're just wearing Santa Claus outfits. But when you actually get to like, when you get to the actual like, no. But when you get to the actual moment of Jack Quaid doing what he does, figuring out, I can use this against him and this might work, or throwing a cast iron pan on him. The fryer with the gun, stuff like that is when it really like does get creative with it. And it can be fun. When it's other moments and it's other characters, it's not really that impressive. But
here's the thing. I think that's done on purpose though, because again, this is a bank manager or a bank assistant manager who is put into a situation that in reality, it's not going to be impressive when he fights someone. He's not a fighter. He's gonna fight like another human being. And I appreciated the authenticity and never making him feel like he was an expert fighter. He was someone who was desperate, using creative means of fighting people. Like when he was fighting someone bigger than him, he fought dirty because that's the only way you're gonna defeat someone who's a towering presence in your Jack Quaid, who's small and lanky. So I was impressed, not because, they're not John Wick style action scenes, but Jack Quaid is not, he's not Keanu Reeves.
I wasn't suggesting that the Jack Quaid fight sequences were bad. I appreciated those because it was creative and it made sense for his character. I was specifically talking about the bank heist when they're shooting the police officers, or anytime those people are actually on screen. The fact that they're not able to fight Jack Quaid better, like Jack Quaid can't feel the pain, but it should have been shot better. It should have been better from that perspective because they should be more trained for a fight considering who they are. That's what I was getting at when I said it was like, oh, that could have been done a little better. And it just wasn't, there wasn't any wow factor to that at all.
No, honestly, I think that's fair because again, it's set up that they're ex-military and that they're basically crazy. At least
again,
one of them is. And
him fighting dirty has nothing to do with what I was talking about.
No, I
appreciate
I do think that that's fair. You're taking ex-military combatants and putting them up against a normal guy. Even fighting dirty, there should have been a little bit more meat on the bone there in terms of their ability to fight back and their action scenes. So I can see where you're coming
from there. Let's break it down though. Those are pretty much my general thoughts. Fun movie. Could have used work. Story was actually pretty interesting. It took a while to set up, and I like that. Let's actually break it down. Let's start with like just I think the obvious one, and that I already mentioned it a little bit, but Jack Quaid. My God, dude, to go from Dewey and to go from not Dewey, to go from Huey to go who's a supporting character in The Boys, to then going from Richie, who's a supporting character in the Scream franchise, to this. My God, dude, Jack Quaid could easily play a leading man. And I think he actually do some pretty good serious work too. This was more of a comedy role for him, and it fits perfectly with just his character archetype. But it worked really well. And I think that he in Hollywood should probably be used a lot more than he actually is, because he is a phenomenal actor, and this movie does prove that.
I do hope that this movie, obviously it came out earlier this year, so it'll take some time to see the fruits of that. I do agree though, like Jack Quaid really did knock it out of the park here. He did an exceptional job being like not only the main character, but like a lot of the movie, it's just him. Like there's not a lot, there's basically a little bit of supporting cast here, but for the most part, this is a Jack Quaid movie. And he really carries that. He's able to take the weight of being the guy in this movie and carrying it start to finish. And I really think that this proves his capabilities as an actor.
Right. again, just knowing where like he has been the past few years, it just impresses me that it took this long for him to find a role like this. But this role is genuinely just like perfect for him. The supporting cast, and when I say supporting, I mean, the, I'm talking about the girlfriend. I'm talking about Sherry, and I'm talking about Roscoe. I'm not talking about the villains. The supporting cast, very fun, very engaging, pretty good. Even Earl, who is the most Morgan Freeman looking look-alike person I've ever seen, like he had very fun character. Um, the performances I didn't like in this film really had to be the villains. Holy cow, they are all cannon fodder. I couldn't even tell you the names of these people. I just remember the brother, and
Yeah,
then
I was gonna say you have the brother, and then the other brother, and
the
then
other
cannon
brother,
fodder.
and then cannon fodder guy. And I'm just like, why? Like, you couldn't have written any of them like anything more interesting. Like, again, I get the whole point is that that one guy who's written because it's a big twist that she's related to him, and it was technically supposed to be an inside job, and it just makes me sit there and go, brother, what are we doing? Why are
Yeah,
these they can't be the weakest part, because I feel like I want something for him to overcome, just to be a bit more than what it was. It can be a bank robbery, sure, and they might just be simple bank robbers. But let's use this example. You know what else was a bank robbery movie that had an excellent villain? A little film I like to call Die Hard. Do you remember Die Hard, Brandon?
you know what's really funny? When I was watching this movie, the only movie other than Nobody that came to my mind was Die Hard. Now, there's a lot of big differences because your
Major
main character
differences.
in Die Hard is a trained cop, not a bank assistant. Like, there are differences, but
Right.
no, I agree with you in the sense of when I was watching this, I thought of Nobody and Die Hard.
Well, and obviously Die Hard being a better movie than all of the movies that we've already talked about combined. Uh, but I love that film to death. But Hans Gruber as a villain in that film is terrifying and menacing, and he's very simple. Like, he doesn't have like this grand arc. He doesn't have this grand thing. It's just such a simple villain, but he's done so well and written so well that you're just like, it works. Here, you have Simon, because I just had to look up the name, who's the brother, and you go, okay, where are we going with this? Nowhere? Sounds about right. And I'm just like, okay. So that's my biggest complaint. I wish that could have been done better. The police officers were fine. I don't have any gripes. They were police officers, I guess. Again, at the end of the day, the person who steals the show here is Jack Quaid.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Nathan Kane, Novocaine, whoever you want to call him. That is the title character. He stole the show. Again, in an action movie, if that succeeds, you're mostly fine. I just wish the villains could have been stronger. You have any thoughts about that at all, other than what I said? I know I just kind of went off for a bit.
No, I think that the villains were okay. I do wish that we would have gotten maybe an additional, and I'm not even saying 5 minutes, just using your time to give us a motivation other than greed and that they're crazy. Maybe that's enough for people. And honestly, I'm not super upset that we didn't. But I think
Sure.
if you wanted to make your villains more of a character than just cannon fodder, giving them some sort of motivation on, oh, they're war veterans, PTSD, they're screwed over by the system, something to make you feel more than just, oh, they're gonna die, they're gonna be cannon fodder, and I'm gonna be happy about it. I
Sure.
do think that we could have gotten their attempt at doing that and making you care was the brother dynamic. That was it. And
That
it
was it.
kind
Yeah.
of was whatever. Like, it was okay. I didn't hate it. It gave a reason for the plot to move forward, but at the same time, it was solely a reason to move the plot forward and not something that you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that that's what they did and that was the reveal." I think the sibling dynamic that was a big reveal and genuinely I was caught off guard by was the Shelly and her brother and the inside job. Like, again, I went into this movie having zero expectations and knowing nothing. So I don't know if this was something that was set up in the trailer, but for me, I actually was like, oh, wow, that's what they're doing. It was an inside job, and Shelley's a bad guy, and this isn't it. It made it feel less generic. I guess, like, yes, it is still generic, but it gave a little bit more credence to the emotional weight of the moments in this movie, as opposed to he's just going to save the girl and he just happens to not be able to feel pain. Like, to me, if we wouldn't have gotten the twist, I think the movie would have been good. For me, and maybe you'll disagree, the twist did add something to the movie. It did make me care a little bit more.
It did about the circumstance, not the character, but just the circumstance that they were in, and for the story, and for, once again, Nathan Kane. It made me care more about that because, again, he's the one who, again, you're following, but it's a circumstance that's going to directly affect him. It gives context for the other two. It directly is going to affect him. And I'm like, okay. So again, it goes back. It just more of a thing that goes back to Jack Quaid than it really does everybody else. But I get what you're saying. You mentioned creative kills. Look, there are some creative kills. I like a lot of what they do. Obviously, the first big kill isn't a creative kill necessarily. It literally is just a gunshot to the head. But he's reaching into a fryer for the gun. He can't really expect that.
I recoiled at that.
Yeah, obviously you're like, okay, well, I mean, it's not like he gets shot in the head, but so it's not a creative kill, but it's like, that was cool. He just reached right in there and he grabbed it. That's actually pretty sick. All right. So I think let's talk about some of the creative kills. Which one did you like more?
What was my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely 100% I have a favorite, and it is the killed him between the thighs with the crossbow bolt. That was, I don't know if that's your favorite. That was absolutely my favorite. It is genuinely the kill that I was like, oh shit. Like, oh, that's brutal. Like, you see his brain matter leaking out of him onto Jack Quaid. Like, oh my God. Like, it also makes sense because, again, you have this big, strong dude who's overpowering him. And how's Jack Quaid going to get out of this? The only way that he can get out of this is using his ability to not feel pain. And just, bam, I was like, oh, that was dope. That was hands down my favorite creative kill. Like, there were other good ones that we'll talk about, but like, easily the crossbow bolt kill.
So I'll be completely honest here. My favorite is the one that I really couldn't watch because okay, so first up, the moment his bone was sticking out of his hand at the very end.
Ooh.
I knew.
Oh,
I knew that.
I called it.
It was nasty.
The second his hand got snapped, I knew they were gonna do it, and it was so hard to watch.
I had to look away. When I watched it the first time, I had to look away. The rewatch, I was like, I gotta watch this because I just gotta see what it looks like. I literally saw it. I was like, I'm turning around. I can't watch it. Second time, all right, it's fine. I got through it. It's okay. That is easily my favorite. That's the most creative one, in my opinion. And then, they have other creative ways of him fighting. They're not necessarily kills because he doesn't really kill anybody else. That's what I will say they do stay true to. He kills the robbers. He doesn't kill anybody else. He is still a good person. He's not killing anybody who wasn't involved in the bank robbery in a negative way. That being said, when he slams his fist into the stupid glass and then proceeds to scratch out the other guy's eyes, the first time I saw it, I sat in my seat and went, holy shit, they're about to do this, aren't they? Eyeballs out, I can't see. You see the glass in his eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch this.
It was brutal. That you don't feel bad because he's a Nazi, obviously. You're like, good, but at the same time, oh my God.
It's bad. It is really bad. That was another hard moment for me to watch. It's like yes, creative kills. There's really only 3, but it's more so about the way he's fighting with everybody. It's really fun. Let's talk a little bit about the reveal of Roscoe. Obviously, it's revealed that Jacob, I don't know how you say his last name, Batalon?
Balatone,
Balatone?
I
It's revealed that
believe.
Jacob Balatone was in the trailer. You knew he was in it. So whenever I hear and I know his voice pretty well, it's really hard to
Yeah.
miss his voice. So when they're on game chat in the first bit of the movie, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a 6-foot Samoan man, long hair, gorgeous." I go, "That's Jacob Balatone."
I
He's
know what your
not.
ass looks like.
But no, like, that's the issue I have is like when it's later revealed for a joke, like you're not that, and it's supposed to be the player of like gamers never actually look like what they sound like or like who you're actually talking to or what they say they are. The joke didn't work for me because I knew it was him the whole time. Well, no, it's because I knew it was him the whole time, and so it was like here's the thing: if it was some unknown person who like we don't know their voice, we don't know what they look like, and also if they didn't reveal it in the trailer, like, here's the actually if they didn't reveal it in the trailer that he was in this film, I might have actually laughed harder at it because I would have recognized the voice but not put two and two together and who it was, and then seen it in the end and realized, oh, that's funny, it's him, and he said he was this. I would have laughed more at that. I couldn't laugh at it because I knew who he was. It was revealed in the trailer. You saw his face that he was in this movie. You know what I mean? So
Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more, is because again, I basically watched I saw maybe a clip of this movie and I didn't watch the trailers. So when
it
it
was
was
like
revealed and I heard his voice, I was like, "Oh boy, your ass is lying through your teeth," and I am so excited for this reveal. So when they revealed it, yeah, no shit, I know what he looks like. I knew that he wasn't gonna look like it, but it was still funny seeing the reaction in terms of "Oh,
sure.
you don't look remotely what you say you looked like."
Well, it's also just like I know. I don't know. It's a like you were talking about a few weeks ago about the chair reveal, and we both were, but how we got mad at the chair reveal because it gave away too much for Doomsday. The
Yeah.
trailer for this movie also just gave away too much, and you know very well I don't like watching trailers that much. I try to avoid them. Like even in the theaters, I will sit on my phone until the movie starts most of the time. But that trailer from like January through February was the only one I saw that I was like, this looks good. I like this. Let's see this film. And he's just there in the trailer. So again, it's moments like that where I'm like, okay, I wish that wasn't revealed. It gave away the joke a little bit. That being said, when he gets hit in the head by the mallet dude, the booby trap, oh my god, that was funny. Because he had
Yeah.
the helmet on, so I'm like, okay, he's fine. But the mallet comes down, I'm like, oh my god, he's like knocked out cold. Holy crap. Um, but he, Jacob's good in the movie. Roscoe's a fun character. Again, not anything like really write home about,
He's the guy
but
in the chair again, which is really funny.
he's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy in the
His
chair
big
again.
his big standout role is the guy in the chair in Spider-Man. I know he's been in other things, but that's what a lot of people know him from, is Ned from the Spider-Man, the Tom
Sure,
Holland Spider-Man. So seeing him be the guy
sure,
in the chair again was really funny. I do hope that, again, I haven't seen many properties with him in it. I hope he gets the chance to shine in other capacities, but it was like, "Oh, you're the guy in the chair again." That's
sure,
what your role
sure,
is. And he plays a
sure.
little bit more, he gets out of the chair and then plays a little bit more of an active role, but still pretty limited.
Right, right.
I also do love
Um,
the whole, "I'm gonna turn you in immediately. I will talk to the cops and I will tell them absolutely everything. You
I
are not dragging me down with you." And I was like, honestly, standing on principle. I appreciate it. It's like, I'm
honestly
here to help
bet
you
no.
not die. I'm here to help you not die. And after that, I am telling the cops everything.
I will be testifying against you in court.
Yeah.
I'm like, honestly, no bet. No, that's actually solid. Good for you, man. Um, and I guess I will also say this about it. There's some pretty good shots in the film cinematography wise. Again, not anything Martin Scorsese level or Tarantino level or Alfred Hitchcock level. Not a big revolutionary shot, but like for the reveal when Nate realizes that Sherry is the brother of Simon, or is the sister of Simon, sorry, is the sister of Simon. When you get that reveal, it's a dolly zoom. I thought that was really creative. I thought it was fun. They've got some moments in here, just cinematography wise, where I'm like, that's actually a really cool shot, and I like the way that was framed. Um,
I will say, to build off of that, I'm not the biggest fan of the slow-mo shots in this movie. I just don't love slow-mo in general. It never really enhances anything for me. It kind of just feels like I don't know. Slow-mo to me can be used properly to enhance a scene. In this movie, I feel like it kind of takes away from the snappiness of an action scene, which is what I like to see in an action scene. Even if an action
Sure.
scene's drawn out, I don't like artificially drawing it out with slow-mo. That's just my preference. I don't think it's like it's only used in a few scenes, and those scenes are okay. I just think it would have been better without slow-mo. Does it take away from the movie? No, it's still good, but like I don't know, I just don't love slow-mo.
Let's use this example. Let's take the Mission Impossible Fallout bare knuckle fight between Cavill, Cruz, and the one guy in the bathroom. That whole fight sequence is pretty much shot relatively quickly in time. I don't think there's no slow-mo at all. Imagine if there's a part when Henry Cavill just punches the dude and it's completely slow-mo. Do you know how underwhelming that would be? Instead of just seeing
Yeah.
him like reload his arm guns and start bashing away, another great example, Dark Knight Rises, the final fight with Bane and Batman. And when they're at the steps and, he's like, oh, you come back to die with your city. No, I came back to stop you, whatever. And, he's, throwing punches at Batman. Batman's throwing punches back. And then he hits him in the mask and the mask is broken. And he's like full on rage punching and he hits the concrete and he like breaks the actual concrete with his fists. You know how underwhelming that would have been if it was slow-mo? No, that was so exciting because it was fast-paced timed. It looked really cool because of that. Slow-mo can be used when it's used very sparingly, can be used correctly. However, I do think there's a lot of moments in this film where it's not used correctly and it just
Yeah.
takes you out of the moment. So
It's
I don't
used
know.
sparingly, but not correctly, in my opinion. Because
Okay,
in
I'll
fact,
give you that.
I think it's not necessary at all, but it is used sparingly to where it doesn't feel overutilized. Because they easily could have overutilized the slow-mo in here. They didn't, but I still think that even when they use slow-mo, the scenes would have been better without it.
I'll give you that. Yeah, the slow-mo camera can get very distracting at times though. Uh let let's see. There was one other thing I was going to talk. Oh, the writing. I will say this: the movie is actually written very well. I don't actually think there's like a line of dialogue in this. There is one line of dialogue in which I'm like, you could have just had her not say anything, and it would have been fine. It is the reveal scene when he's pointing the gun at Jack Quaid's pointing the gun at Simon, and he's there to save Sherry, and it's revealed that we're related. She doesn't really care. It's been, this was an inside job at the bank the whole time.
Yeah.
And she drops the line of, it was real to me. I don't know what she said exactly, but like, no, it wasn't fake. It was real. Like I did actually have feelings for you. I'm like, shut up, Sherry. Just don't say anything, please. Because I did actively sit there and go, that's so cliche. It's such a cliche thing for you to say after something like that. Like, no, it was real for me too. Like, shut up. Shut up. Just don't say anything. Let the moment play out and be done with it. That was like the only gripe writing moment where I was like, that was pretty bad. Some of the jokes didn't always land. I think that was just a mix of tone as well.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm
that's just
talking
the
about? Like,
nature of a comedy in general. Like, even The Naked Gun, which is like the best comedy movie to come out this year, there were jokes that didn't work. So I'm not really upset about that, but I get pointing it out. Like, I think it makes sense.
yeah, because like, well, and I say tone wise because it does a lot of awkward humor for the most part. But then every now and again, it'll do like a classic normal joke, and you're like, wait, why would you? But your movie's primarily based on awkward humor. Why would you shift it? What's the point of shifting it? And it does take you out of the moment, especially if it doesn't land just at all. I don't know. Do you you have any thoughts on anything that I've said? I know I've just kind of like rambled. I was expecting you to cut me off at any point if you had anything to chime in with, but
Well, I'm trying to do better this episode of not cutting you off because it does kind of like it's annoying. But
I
no,
get it.
I do have some thoughts because the reveal scene was okay. I didn't hate the way that it was done. I do agree that like I don't know. Shelley's character is an interesting one because I really liked the way that they set her up. I actually really enjoy going back to what you talked about earlier of the 20 to 25-ish minutes of like setup.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I say I didn't know anything about this movie. Obviously, I knew it was an action movie. Like that's obvious. I don't have to watch a trailer to know that. But I was still sitting there like, oh, like what is gonna be the act? Like, again, I didn't know it was a bank heist, so I was like, what's the action gonna be? What's the setup? What's
Sure.
gonna happen? So for me, not knowing that, like the relationship with Shelley and having all of that, I really enjoyed those moments. Them connecting on their, I guess, shared trauma. I guess it does call into question how much of that shared trauma was true. I think that there is still a good portion of it. I think the only thing that was a lie was her running away from the final family. I do think that there
Sure.
might be some truth. It's said that they're siblings. I'm curious if they're blood related and it wasn't a situation where she was in foster care still and she got adopted into a bad family and she ended up in the wrong crowd. I don't know. There isn't really anything to disprove that, but there's also nothing to really prove it.
Sure.
So
Right.
I do like that whole connecting on the shared traumas. I like the again, I just like the setup of this movie and how they take their time doing it. I
Right.
appreciate the fact that it is 20 to 25 minutes of it's just a dude living his life so that when the action does start, it feels like a gut punch. And then from there, it is nonstop. You do not really slow down at all. And I think that that is just a really good escalation. And then when the reveal happens, originally to us, the audience, of, oh, Shelley calling brother, I think that was a really well done reveal to the audience in terms of like, it really caught me off guard because they did everything in their power to not make it obvious so that when they revealed it, for me, I was like, oh shit, I
Yeah.
can't believe that that's what they just did. Now, when it gets revealed to our main character, I didn't hate it. I think it made sense. I do think that there was a little bit of a like I don't know. He obviously was still love struck, and I think they could have done a little bit more to make that believable and enhance that
I
aspect of
guess.
it. In terms of
Yeah.
like, he just got revealed that this entire mission was for absolutely nothing, and that she probably lied about absolutely everything. And he's just like, well, okay, we're still gonna do this. I've come this. I guess the way that you can justify it is the mindset of, well, I came this far, I might as well see it through. But I don't know. That was okay. I think another writing point that just kind of was it was a whatever for me, and I'm not saying that it needed to matter. It was just like okay, was the death of the other detective when he dies. Like it was a
Oh
good
yeah.
like oh shit reveal of the brother still being alive and kind of like continuing the plot point there. But at the same time, like, I mean, it was used as motivation, I guess. That's really all it was. Like he was another cannon fodder character in the sense of the other detective who then kind of joins the crew in a degree and is she's like, "Oh, he killed my detective, so screw everything. I'm gonna help you track this guy down to get revenge." Like, yeah, that makes sense. But also her being shot and having to not be there for it and go to the hospital, like, yeah, it's not like a, "Oh, wow, it blew my mind" moment, but, like, it is good writing. Like, it makes
Right.
sense in terms of giving her a motivation beyond just, like I guess the only thing with that was, like, the whole, like, "Oh, reminds me of, like, my daughter" thing. Like, that was, for me, whatever. Like, you have the card at the end where he's in the hospital and he gets the card from the daughter because he kept her alive. Like, that stuff's okay. I don't think it's the peak of this movie's writing. I think it's just kinda, like, not an afterthought, but not really like it's a okay. Like I can take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's like I said from the beginning. It's pretty good writing. Again, for an action movie, you can only do so much. Um, I feel like the film itself did a pretty good job writing it. So, um, I mean, I'm out of thoughts. It's an action movie. Like it's like
Yeah,
it's not Die Hard. It's definitely better than Nobody and Nobody too. uh,
yeah.
but it obviously doesn't reach the heights that like some action movies of the past. It doesn't reach the heights of like a Mission Impossible. Again, a very different type of film, but this is one I probably could see myself revisit. Unlike most action movies, I could see myself revisiting this, at once every like maybe 3 years. Oh yeah, that came out. Let me rewatch that again. I remember how fun that was. Because the premise behind this film is very unique. The writing is okay. Jack Quaid steals the show. He's an incredible actor in this film, and he proves that he can be a leading man. When it's good, it's good. When it's just mid, you sit there and go, all right, well, let's get to the next thing here.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I think that if you like this genre of movie, it is a good. I would almost call it a must watch. I think it is a really good for what it is if you like the genre. If you don't like the genre, it probably won't be for you. There are some it uses gore. I don't want to say sparingly, but that one scene where he stabs the dude with his bone arm, like, yeah, that was a rough scene to watch. His hand after he reaches it into the grease was deformed and decrepit. Like,
right.
Here's the other thing. Like, obviously, he can't feel pain, but they do kind of stretch your disbelief in the sense of he would have still died way long ago because this bullet wound would have bled out. He would have died from like.
Oh, sure.
You have to suspend your disbelief. Like, it is grounded in certain elements, but ultimately this is not how this would go down at all in reality. But again, it's a movie, whatever. Like, I think it is fun for what it is. It has some good moments of character development to an extent, but ultimately you're there for the action and you get the action that you want to see. And that's really what can be said about this movie.
Correct. Next week, we're talking about One Battle After Another, the new Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro film, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I'm excited for that film. Again, I think pretense for that one. Trailers, I don't know what's with trailers recently, but similar like with Long Walk, trailers didn't really sell us on that movie all that much. But we're going to see it because it's getting really good reviews, and it looks really good.
It's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of the unfortunate reality of current trailers for me right now, trailers either do absolutely nothing to sell me on a movie. Like, they just kind of like you said, The Long Walk, or I can't really say One Battle After Another because we haven't seen the movie yet, but I will say like the trailers really didn't do anything for me. But the fact that it's getting tens like everywhere, that's what does it for me. We're going to watch it whether it was good or not because we wanted to watch it, but still the trailers didn't really sell me. So you either have that end of the spectrum or you have the ones that we've ranted about ad nauseum on the podcast, which are mainly just superhero ones that give you the entire plot served up on a platter. And I will say, like, admittedly, I'd rather a trailer that doesn't sell me on a movie than a trailer that gives me everything. But I think that's only because I know I'm going to watch the movie anyway. Sure. But if it wasn't for the podcast and I wasn't going to be like, oh, I'll watch the movie anyway, yeah, I do think that they might have done a better job with the trailer. But
sure,
yeah, we'll watch One Battle After Another. And I mentioned earlier at the end of our Peacemaker review, we are not talking about Peacemaker episode 6 next week. You can blame Carson for that if you're angry. No, in reality, we will be talking about Marvel Zombies in place of Peacemaker. The episodes have been getting shorter, admittedly, but we still want to try and keep this podcast not 3 hours like our first few episodes were. So we'll be talking about Marvel Zombies. It's 4 30-minute episodes, and we'll be talking about One Battle After Another. And then next week, there will be episode 6 and 7 of Peacemaker, and I am pulling up what movie that is because I have it written down. Oh, Smashing Machine, the new Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. It'll be 2 episodes of Peacemaker and the Smashing Machine the week after. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that is our Novocaine and Peacemaker episode 5 reviews.
Let's put a pretty bow on it. Let's wrap this up. Let's put it together. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for listening to yet another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods Podcast. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, give us a like, give us a follow. Comment on our short form content. You can follow us on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast. You know the platform. We're more likely than not on it. And you can also follow us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods. And ladies and gentlemen, Brandon, as always, stay nerdy.